Okay, that title might be a little misleading. I actually think your OC is pretty great. Or do I? I mean, maybe I don't like your OC, who knows? And more importantly, should you even care? Now, as you may or may not know, I make a lot of videos that talk about OCs as well as hot topic issues in the fandom. It's a lot of fun, and clearly a lot of you seem to enjoy them too. So much so that many of you are willing to share and discuss your creations with me, and even consider me as something of an authority on making OCs in the community. You warm this older's heart. But one thing that I hear probably more often than not are those of you that are looking to change your OC because you were told by someone else that it sucks or it's ugly or any number of reasons that someone may not like a specific character for. This comes up all the time, and that's something that really bothers me. And I mean, this goes far beyond just making OCs. I think it's as good a time as ever just to have a little quick talk about negative criticism. Now, as you probably know, dealing with negative criticism is absolutely a fact of life, especially in this day and age. We live in a world where we can upload our creations, whether it be artwork, writing, animation, whatever, and share them with the world. Mix that with endless easy avenues to comment anonymously on these creations, and knowing how to deal with negative criticism as a creative individual is perhaps more important than ever. And I think it's something that a lot of us, myself included, struggle with consistently. Now, I've had the pleasure of making content in this community for a number of years, with, in my own terms, a fair bit of success. As a result, I've had tons of comments sent my way, ranging from kind and supportive to downright mean and nasty. Literally some of the harshest criticisms and insults you can imagine. And I read every single one. Side effects may include bruised ego and hurt feelings. Now, some people might be inclined to ignore the negative comments and criticism. After all, it's mean, right? Why listen to what they have to say if they're gonna say it that way? I remember back when I first began making videos on this channel. I remember being delighted to finally start receiving comments on my work. However, I received my fair share of negative comments too. Now, these are just a couple of examples, but you can see they aren't the nicest comments. They're blunt, they're mean, but unfortunately, they were right. And yes, they didn't say what they had to say in the nicest way. They could have been kinder, more gentle, but it was the truth. Back in my older videos, I spoke far too fast for many people to understand what I was saying. It was a legitimate problem, something that needed to be fixed, and something that I've absolutely worked on improving, and still work on constantly, and making that change was in no small part to comments like these. Negative criticism can absolutely be some of the toughest things to hear, and nobody truly likes it. But at the same time, it's important to listen to what's being said and ask yourself, is there truth to this? And if so, how can I go about improving what I create? Ultimately, it's crucial to really take a good look at what the negative criticism is telling you and decide for yourself whether to act on it or not. Of course, you're gonna see some comments that are purely mean and nasty and provide you with no form of valuable criticism. Comments like these, you can safely ignore. They aren't going to help. And that's not to say that you have to respond to these comments either. Negative criticism can be extremely harsh, even if it's something that you perhaps need to hear. While you should certainly examine what's being said and then decide for yourself whether there's some truth to it, you have absolutely no obligation to respond back. After all, if they're being mean, it may not be worth continuing that conversation, regardless of whether they were right or not. So if someone's giving you a hard time about your OC or your artwork or your writing, your video, whatever you've worked on, don't just ignore it. Yes, it can absolutely be tough and hard to hear. It can be mean, it can be brutal, but you never know when you learn something new from it, despite how it's written. You must decide for yourself whether the criticism is warranted and whether you should act on it or not. And sometimes it isn't. Actually, a lot of times it isn't. But simply ignoring it is never the best answer, or blindly following it for that matter. Read what's being said and decide for yourself whether improvements need to be made. But most importantly, don't take negative criticism personally. Obviously, that is not an easy feat to accomplish. Whether you've made a new OC, a piece of artwork, a video, it doesn't matter. You've spent time, hard work, and energy making that creation, and putting a bit of yourself into your work. Your creations are an extension of yourself and who you are, so it's only natural to take it a little personally when someone harshly critiques your work. However, it's crucial not to. While it may sound obvious, you have to see it as a criticism of your piece, not on you as a person. And believe me, I struggle with this on a daily basis. There'll always be a part of you that takes the criticisms personally. There's no question about that. But over time, you'll find that the criticism, while sometimes hard to hear, can be an excellent source of personal growth. But now I want to hear from you. Have you dealt with the negative criticism? And if so, how did you handle it? Let me know in the comments section below. I always love hearing what you have to say. So with that, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. It was something that was on my mind for some time, so I'm glad to just have a chance to quickly talk about it. So if you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like. And of course, I appreciate subscribing. It helps support me for free, and it only takes a click. You can also find me outside of the show on Facebook and Twitter. I post other stuff there. Funny stuff. But nonetheless, once again,